All right, DJ, we'll start with game number 1 here. Number 10, Clemson. Tigers 4-1. They are at 2-3, Wake Forest. Noon Saturday, ESPN. Tigers a 20-point road favorite in Winston-Salem.
Yeah, Chris, with all 3 of these games that we've selected, the state of North Carolina team is at home, and the state of North Carolina team is at least an underdog, and sometimes, as in this case, a significant underdog. So I'm going to be watching all 3 of these through the lens of, can there be an upset by the home in-state team? Now, in this one, the last 25 matchups between Clemson and Wake Forest head-to-head, the Tigers have won 22 times. You're good enough at math to know that that means the Deacs have only 3 wins in the past quarter century. Wake's most recent win over the Tigers came in 2008, although the Demon Deacons did push the game against Clemson to double overtime just 2 years ago right there in Winston-Salem. The dominant theme in this series over the last 2 decades has been that Wake just cannot move the ball consistently or put up a decent number of points against the Tigers defense, which typically in recent years, of course, has been loaded with NFL caliber talents. In 10 of the last 12 head-to-head matchups against Clemson, the Deacons have failed to surpass even 20 points, although I actually do not think that that will be the case this year. As I mentioned before, the Deacs went to state in Raleigh and beat the Wolfpack. The Deacs actually have a very impressive quarterback in the transfer Hank Bachmeier, who did start games for both Boise State and Louisiana Tech before his arrival in Winston-Salem. They have a great running back in Damon Claiborne, who also was excellent against the Pack, and they have excellent wideouts in Taylor Morin and Donovan Green. The bigger problem for Wake this time is that its defense just has not been very good for Dave Clawson this year. The Demon Deacons are giving up 460 yards per game. That is dead last in the ACC by a significant margin. And they're giving up 31 points per game, which is the second worst number in the league. Clemson's much maligned and much discussed quarterback Cade Klubnik definitely has improved from last season, and he also has one of the league's best rushing attacks, led by the recent David Glenn Show guest Phil Maffa, who is number 3 in the ACC with almost 100 rushing yards per game. That, of course, would help any quarterback at any school in any system. Klubnik also can run the ball just a little bit himself as a dual threat guy. He's built some chemistry with the young wide receivers Antonio Williams and Bryant Wesco Jr., and he's making fewer mental and physical mistakes than he did the last couple years. I still don't think personally that Klubnik is one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC. I wouldn't put him in my top 4, let's say, but this year he is averaging almost 250 passing yards per game, and he's thrown 14 touchdown passes against only 2 interceptions. With that upset theme in mind that I mentioned earlier, if there is a path for Wake in this one, it is creating turnovers on defense and coming up with big plays on offense. That, of course, is much easier said than done against a high-quality Clemson team that once again has its eyes on what would be Coach Dabo Swinney's 8th ACC championship in the last 10 years.